saying no one was beat up in this story or hurt. No one was beat up. We out here, boys.
Me and my boo, we doing dangerous
Pretty
things.
girls worldwide.
Girls worldwide.
Oh yes, oh yes. Oh yes, what's this? What is up, home slices? I'm back with another video. As you can see by the title, it's another story time. This will probably be the last story time I'll make for a while because I don't want my channel to turn into a story time channel because we'll run out of story times. But as you saw by the warning, I do not get beat up in the story. It's still an interesting story, but I don't get beat up. So if you're here looking for someone to get beat up, this is not the story. So carry on watching as I tell the story of the time some hun found me in her man's bed. So only about like 4 people know the story because to me it was traumatic. To you it might not be traumatic, but to me it was traumatic. So backstory. Basically in the beginning of this year, I wasn't really close friends with like my race friends at the time. So we wouldn't really hang out on a Friday night. So me and my other friend and Paul, we were like bored and he was like, hey, you want to do something? And I was like, yeah, let's call up Omen, who usually used to have like race parties and like chillers, and we were like, are you doing anything? And then he said that he was going to another friend's chillers who we had met before in his room a few times. So we were like, can we come with? And he was like, sure, you guys can come. So we go to this guy's place, and the place is basically the same like student accommodation / apartments place that Paul lived at. So it was like cool vibes. So we get there and it's like cool. I know about 4 people and there was like about 8 of us. And like it's cool vibes, it's chilled, we're vibing, everything's cool, we're drinking, you know, playing drinking games, never have I ever, truth or dare. The vibes are there, the security comes, tells us we're making a noise. It's a good time. So eventually people start getting tired and, you know, they like kind of slosh, so they start leaving the people who stay there. So by the time I look at the clock and most of the people are gone and there was like 3 of us left, or 4 of us, I'm like, oh my god, it's 2 o'clock. So the apartment that the guy lived in, the host lived in, had like windows where you could like see out into the road. And as I'm literally about to ask when are we going home, we see someone get hijacked. Like they steal the VW and it's like, what? So I'm like, when are we going home? And Omen and I lived like down the road from each other, so we were gonna walk back, and it wasn't like a far walk, but it wasn't like a walk that you could take by yourself. So at this point, like I'm really honestly willing to leave my phone at the hostess place and come fetch it the next day, all in the hopes that we can walk back. But there's also rain. It was literally like flooding and I'm in like flip-flops and it was just like a mess. So eventually then I need to pee, and then the host went upstairs to go get me tissue and came back down. And then when he came back down, he came back with a friend. Now the friend was a little cute. He was tall, you know, he had height on his side. He was very tall. He had glasses on, and glasses are my weakness a little bit. So he was cute. I was attracted to him like this much. And we start talking and we had like the most amazing like mental conversation. Like mentally he was so stimulating. Like honestly, like Hans can agree, like bro, a guy who's like mentally stimulating is like top tier. Like whether it's your friend, your crush, someone you've slept with, like it doesn't matter. If someone can have like mental conversations with you, they're top tier. So we spoke for like an hour and a half, having like the deepest mental conversations. Like we just clicked like that mentally, and I was like, oh my word, this guy's like so cool. Not in like that way but you know which way I'm talking about. So when we look at the clock, it's like 4:30 leaning to 5. So he's like, no, I've got to go. I've got some emails that I've got to write, because he was like a musician / club promoter for some clubs in Johannesburg. And he's like, I've got to go. I've got to do some work. So I'm like, oh my word, are we going to walk back, Omen, or we not? And so he's like, no, I don't think so. We're going to have to stay. And I could have taken an Uber, but also it was like, you know, they could have stole you, but also anything could have happened to me with the stranger, but we move. So the host and that guy offer their beds. They're like, we don't mind, you know, you can come stay in our rooms. And there was 3 girls and 3 boys. And so the one girl Omen was like eyeing, so he was like, we'll stay down here and we'll sleep here. And then the other girl was like, you choose where you want to sleep. And I'm like, and not to be rude, because, you know, some people know the host, but the host was giving me like weird vibes, you know, like those vibes. So I was like, I don't want to be within those vibes. So I'll chose the stranger who I just met like 2 hours ago and had like 1.5 hour stimulating conversations with, and I'm gonna go like sleep in his bed. But I chose that life. So we go up to his room, we get into his like apartment, and it's like really lovely, like it's clean or whatever. And then we get to his bed, and his bed is like this high. I literally had to like climb in the bed. That's how high it was. And there was no pillows. Guys, no pillows. He gives me some like lame excuse about how like, you know, you're rinsing the washing, what. And I'm like, okay, there's no pillows though. Hey, we move, guys. We move. So then he proceeds to tell me that I can lie in the bed and he'll be doing some work, but I need to at least try and make sure that I'm out by like 6:30 because he's got somewhere to go at 7. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I go down in the bed and I set my alarm for 6 because I'm like, you know, rather leave earlier than later. And then I'm like thinking in my head, obviously the last person I spoke to on my phone was like, I can't remember if it was Mbusi, Lani, or Lexi, and the last person to see me was Omen. And then I take photos of the room because I'm like, you never know what might happen. So I tell myself, don't sleep deep, because I'm a deep sleeper. I sleep very heavy. And my mom always tells me, like, literally you'll wake up in heaven when they've killed you, because that you can't hear shit when you're sleeping. So I'm telling myself sleep lightly, but I sleep deep. And so I always wake up maybe like 10 minutes before my alarm rings. So I wake, I'm like starting to come back to earth. And I hear voices in the background, and there's like more than one voice. In my head I'm like, oh my word, he's like called his friends, it's like it's gonna be like a gang rape, or like he's told them like I slept with him and it's just like gonna be a mess. And I'm like, oh my word. And like, guys, I'm not even being funny, I genuinely was scared for my life, because I had never like done something like weird like that. That's why I was like, eh. So then I start to hear someone say, you're lying, you're fucking lying. And I'm like, oh my word, it's a female voice. Then I heard his sliding door open. Someone walked out onto the balcony, and they're like walking like that. And I'm like, oh my word. And then I hear someone say, wake her up then, let's ask her, wake her up. And then I'm like, oh my word. So he comes to the bed and he's like on me, because I was lying on my stomach, I was sleeping on my stomach. And so I do, you know, the pretend like turn over. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, it's time to wake up. And I'm like, oh, okay. When I look to the corner, there's this beautiful hun. Guys, she was gorgeous. It's a bald hun with like amazing facial features. She's in sweats, she's looking cute. I'm like, yes sis. And then she looks at me and I'm like, hi. You know that voice you use when you get in trouble with your parents, or they call you and you're like, hey. I'm like, hey. She's like, hi. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, what's your name? And I'm like, hi, I'm Sanda. And then she's like, And then her friend comes and she's like, so what are you doing in his bed? So then I explain the situation, and I'm like, this and this and this and this and this and this is what happened. And then she goes, I don't believe you. And then they walk out onto the balcony. Take into consideration, her friend looks like she could beat me up. Her friend looks like she wants to beat me up. I'm scared at this point. I'm scared. So I get out the bed and I'm like, you know, putting my slops on, and I'm like, I stand up, and then the guy comes to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and then he's like, I'm so sorry, that's my girlfriend, she's acting sus. I'm like, that's your girlfriend? This is awkward. Take into consideration, I understand where the hun is coming from, because if I also went to my man's room and there was some random hun in his bed, I would have been like, what the fuck? So then she comes back out and she's like, so is that what you normally do? You're just like a hun who just goes sleeping around in random people's beds. And I'm like, no, I explained the situation to you. There's nothing I could literally do. Sorry, your man offered. Then she's like, that sounds very, very weird. And then the friend is like, are you poor or something? And I'm like, sorry, what? I'm like, not to be rude, there is no certain look that poor people have, and there's poor people who, you know, act some type of way and dress some type of way. But I'm holding an iPhone 11, honey. I'm dressed decent. Do not assume I am poor. That is just rude. I understand the situation is not cute, but do not assume I'm fucking poor. That is so rude to me. So I'm like, no, I'm not poor. I just explained the situation to you. And then I was like to her, I don't know what more you want from me. And obviously now I'm having an attitude because now you're coming at me some type of way and it's not cute anymore. So I'm like, no, I'm not poor. I just told you the situation. If you can't accept that, then I don't know what you want me to say. So then she's like, don't have an attitude with me. Are you closer or something? I'm like, no, honey, you heard me say Asanda, you're going to ask me if I'm closer. I'm Zulu. Get with the times, get with the facts. Period, poo. So then she looks at me, she's like, snaze me. Literally, she's like, looks me up and down, snaze me. Then her and her friend walk out. So then she comes back and she's like, I think you should get your stuff and you should leave and go fetch your friend. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then that guy's, the hostess room is like 2 doors down from that guy. So then I go to the hostess room, I knock on his door, and then the roommate is like, no, they're not awake yet, they're not opening the door. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna go back to Omen and see if we can go now. So when I go back to go get my stuff, they're both standing there like this, and I'm like, literally, I'm in a scene of like Bad Girls Club, yeah, Jola 99, like hands are ready to like clock me. So as I'm taking my stuff, they're like, oh my word, this is just like crazy, we've never heard of something like this is just like weird, like talking to themselves, and obviously I can hear them. So then the ratchet friend says to me, she's like, I'm going to take you back to your room. And I'm like, no, I know where it is, I can find my own way back. And then the Han's like, oh, you know where the room is, but you don't know whose room this is and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I need to just get out of here now, because like it's seriously gonna start becoming like a problem, because I'm not coming at you some type of way, and I understand the situation isn't cute, but like you're being mean to me and I didn't do anything wrong. I did something wrong, but like I didn't really do anything wrong. So then the friend's like, I'm gonna walk you back to the room. So I'm like, you don't have to. She's like, I'm going to. So I walk out and then I forget my charge and I have to go back in. When I go back in, the girl's like this in the guy's face. She's literally like shouting at him, and I'm just like, oops. Easy. I get my charger and I'm like, it was nice meeting you. I'm saying to the girl, I'm like, it was nice meeting you. And then she's like, I wish I could say the same, but no. And I said to the guy, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, okay, cool, honey. And I'm like, I see you around, probably, maybe. And then she's like, no, you won't. And I'm like, honey, if I wanted your man, I would have done something, but I didn't. So stop your shit. Stop being so crazy. So then the friend walks me down to the room, and the whole way down to the room, she's asking me questions, she's interrogating me. She's like, what do you study, what university do you go to, where did you live last year, where do you live this year, where you originally from, what's your mom's name, what's your Instagram name. She's like interrogating me, obviously, because obviously when she goes back, they're probably gonna like search me and make sure like nothing sus was going on or anything. And then when we get to the room, she knocks for me on the door, and I'm like, I can knock myself. I was like, you can leave now. She's like, no. Knocks on the door. Omen takes a long time to come, so she's like, no one's coming. Are you even sure you like know anyone here? You're lying. And then Omen opened the door, and then Omen's like, hey, what's up? And then the girl's like interrogating Omen, like, is this your friend? Why were you guys here? Who do you know here? Like, I'm like, okay, I understand you're being a good friend, but there's no need for you to, you know, be so interrogative. And then Omen's also like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what the fuck? Everyone's just like, what the fuck in the room. And then she leaves when she's like happy with everything. And I'm like, nice meeting you. She's like, yeah, bye. And then she leaves. And I'm like, I wait 5 minutes, because I'm like, what if she's still listening at the door? And then when she's like 5 minutes after, I'm like, oh man, I literally almost got hit, stabbed. Like literally they could have done everything to me that they wanted to do. And at some point, like, it just felt like I was on like Jola 99, but like I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And genuinely, guys, like I didn't do anything with that gent. Like literally, I was like sitting, like I was sleeping this much on his bed, like on the edge of his bed. And even if he had slept in the bed, like he wouldn't have touched me, because the bed was like massive. And I made sure that I left enough space in case he did want to, that there wouldn't even be like an altercation. And he was working the whole time. And like honestly, I understand where she's coming from. I said before, because like I also would have tripped, but the way she made me feel was just like, I was just so scared. I wanted to cry. Moral of the story, guys, moral of the fucking story is just like, I don't understand how Hans do it. Like people who do one night stands, kudos to you guys, because I literally almost passed out, and I don't think I would have survived in life, but I survived. Yo, guys, I'm tired. I survived. Until this day, I'm just like, that hun, I'm grateful to her for being so nice as she was. She wasn't amazingly nice, but she didn't beat me up. Some other hun would have came in there and like glocked me, but she didn't. So thank you if you ever see this video. That's the end of my video. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I will see you guys in another 2 weeks time. I hope you enjoyed that story time. Please subscribe, guys. I don't understand the people who are watching here and they're not subscribed. You have one job, just subscribe. Hi boo, there's only one thing to do, just subscribe. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks time with another video, and stay safe, keep washing those hands, keep wearing those masks, keep social distancing. Love you bitches.